a new scrim today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time against the Shanghai Narwhals and the Washington Wraiths. Looks like the Washington Wraiths have all opted for the Reaper icon, which is very fitting given their name. I didn't realize it was a Reaper skill, but that's cute. On the other hand, we have the Shanghai icons. They're opting for a new kind of meta. They're going 4-1-1. They're going 4 Dragon DPS, 1 Squid Healer, and 1 Squid Tank, or Dragon Tank. So we'll see how this interesting icon meta comes into the metagame. Now, it looks like we may be starting on Nepal, but we are waiting on whether the matches are starting soon or not. Taking a look at the players, we can see what they play in particular. But it does look like we're going to do Temple of Anubis as our starting map. The least offensive 2CP, as I'm sure most people can agree. Volskaya is solid, but Anubis seems to be the least painful of the 2CP maps. Now we're going to move over to J Plays, who is doing a lot of role switching, which is very interesting. He is going to lose his ultimate charge on all of the icons that he switches to. TX Pro Skills is going to do the same, trying to switch up that icon comp, although it does look like Shanghai Dragons, or Narwhals rather, is going to try and infiltrate the Washington Wraiths by stealing their own icons. One thing the Narwhals has over the Washington Wraiths is that they do have more variability between their Reaper icons. They've got Reaper on a BMX, they've got Phantom of the Reaper, and 2 standard Reapers. That does look like 2 of them have gone off to be a Healer Reaper and a Dragon Reaper. We do see some change on the Washington Wraith side, as Captain Caillou has gone for a more chibi Reaper. It does look like this game will be starting soon, and it'll be very exciting to see how each team plays. Now, if we were to extrapolate off of the Overwatch League teams, the Shanghai Dragons have had a very interesting run. They've been somewhat subpar in the first stage. They were definitely getting better, though, and with Giguri coming in 2 or 3 weeks, that'll give them a great boost. On the other hand, Washington Wraiths is not based off of any team, so there is nothing to base them off of. But we are gonna jump into the Temple of Anubis. And we're just gonna remind you to hang in there. Players are gonna have to come up here through this choke point and decide if they want to go left, right, or mid. Depending on the kind of comp that they want. If they're going to go dive, it would be good to go up to the right or jump up to the middle. If they're going a standard death ball, they could go through the left gate. It is up to the kind of comp and strategies. Then the attacking team will move over to this phase through this choke point, though they do have decisions to go right or left. They will have to attack through here and take one of the hardest points to take, as their enemy spawns are very close by. Now let's take a look at what the blue team, the Shanghai Narwhals, are going to be running. Looks like they are running a semi-standard dive with a Winston Diva and a Genji Tracer, but their healers are not dive. While you could consider Moira dive, Ana certainly is not. But they will have the nano boost for the blade, or maybe even a Winston ult. But on the other side, we're actually going to have a somewhat similar comp, but with a Widow instead of a Genji. Perhaps Hanjo, aptly named for a sniper, is going to try and get some picks. But we do see the blue team up here, getting ready to dive in on the enemy team. Dr. Willix Pro gets the first pick, but they got to trade on the healers. So it is currently anyone's game. TX Pro is getting a lot of damage in and is taking none of his own, but does get taken out by Captain Caillou, as Captain Caillou also takes out the D.Va mech. The attacking team is going to have to back up a little bit as Dr. Willix Pro gets the final kill. And the attacking team will have to reset. Tiny Giraffe up on this ledge. It's a very good dive option if you're going to run dive defense on this map, as it's very hard to attack that as you come into a choke point. The attacking team is actually going to try and just avoid the dive and go straight onto the point. A Pulse Bomb comes through, hits a shield, does not get anything more, but Hanjo actually gets a kill on the Ana. Tiny Giraffe's going to ult and try to keep this point alive, but with a mech on the point, and 3 players from the attacking side, it is not looking super great. Hanjo's going to switch over to the Genji, as the red team picks up the rest of this point. Now they're going to be running into the second point before the other team can set up, but they only have 1 ult at the moment. Both support ults are coming up, but as far as ultimate economy, they have a slight advantage, but not by a whole lot, especially given Dr. Willix Pro's with Dragon Blade. It depends on how well they use these ultimates, especially with a Nano coming up. It looks like he might be looking for a Blade now, once Moira comes in with ults. TX Pro is taken down. That takes a lot of the anti-flanking out. But then Hanjo, on the other side, is going to do whatever he can. Is he looking for ultimate as well? No, it looks like the blue team is going to try and back out. Although no, it actually looks like they're going to try and stay and take this point. And they are succeeding. While there is a bit of a stall, it doesn't look like it was very successful, as the blue team is able to clear it out. Hello. On the Narwhal side, we do have a Dragon Blade and a D.Va Bomb. No support ults, but if they can zone out with the D.Va ult and then pick off stragglers with a Genji Blade, that could do the job for at least a tick. But then we look at the Wraith side, and they have no ultimates to speak of. So we're going to see how this team fight ensues, as the Blade does come in, does get 1, does get 2, both healers are down. He does get taken down himself, but that was very good value. The Phantom tries to get a pretty suspect resurrect, and does get taken down herself. As it does look like, while the ultimates were used well at the beginning, it's not going to be enough to take even 1 tick. Probably not the best remech, although it does look like she's going to be able to get out. And she does. Captain Caillou switching from the Tracer to the Reaper. Gonna try and get some good damage on point. It takes Power Skills. Gonna jump onto this high ground and try to ult to stop any pushes. Ult economy is currently in favor of the defending team, which is frustrating for the attacking team, as you have to have a very clean attack with basically all 6 people dead at the same time on the defending team in order to take the point. And then again, the stall can come in. The Visor does come out. That does get Moira and Mercy, both supports down. And this attack is as good as gone. Blue team's going to push out pretty far to get any staggers that they can. Hunter's still got this blade ready. And with one and almost two support ults, they could try and essentially protect the Genji while he ults. But on the other hand, we do have a Reaper with Wraith in a very good position. He spotted Caillou, and he's going to wait. He sees his chance, and he does ult. Does not get anything, as most of the damage is reflected, but he does get out. But the Phantom uses her Valkyrie, trying to keep everyone alive, and I Am Jesus gets a double with her mech. This is going to be a crazy fight, but it does look very much in the favor of Red Team. They just have to stop these staggered respawns. Here comes a blade. As he gets one, he gets two. Reaper ults for fun. And Lucio dies using his ult, which means it is gone. With this last tick filling up. And a suspect Diva Bomb, that is going to be 2 points to the Wraiths. Flipping sides, it is going to be Wraith's turn to defend. And we're going to see just exactly what they defend with. As far as the attacking side goes, it has been a very good time in the meta for a Sombra, especially given this big health pack. But it looks like the blue team is opting for a quad tank composition, which is pretty bold on this type of map. Their best chance is going to be either going through this right path or up that way. But they are going to see if they can make it work. Narwhals is going to run the Ryan Zarya Roadhog Diva. Going to try and get any hooks and early frags as Moira keeps them all healed up. Chibi Kitsune. But on the other side, we've actually got everyone here on the high ground using the classic Mei to switch strat. As Captain Caillou is going to switch off and become a soldier. Someone else who can get up to that high ground. So it'll be very interesting to see how this quad tank adapts, because it is incredibly difficult to get these characters off the high ground when you don't have dive characters. The Narwhals have a Diva, but that's it. There's no way Reinhardt, Roadhog, or Zarya can get up to that high ground. I suppose technically Zarya could, but not in this kind of stressful situation. They've decided to opt just to go mid. And they're going to try and fight on point and make the defending side come down to them. Diva does get up there, but Captain Caillou takes out Chibi Kitsune, but Ashe goes down as well. Both Moiras are down, but the Moira on the blue team is much more important to try and keep those 4 tanks alive. But it doesn't matter, as J-Plays does pick up a triple kill, is going for a 4th, a 5th. He does not make it, but he has successfully pushed the Phantom back so far that they were able to take that point in about a minute. TX Pro Skills tries to get that final frag on Soldier, but does get her mech back. With an incredibly charged Zarya, this could be quite the snowball, but the only ult that they're holding onto right now is a Lucio barrier ult, which may be all they need with these beefy tanks. But they do have Grav up. Barriers are down, Grav is up, does not get anything. Both Diva mechs are down, but the blue team's Diva is down. It does look like the red team is going to hold on to this, which is unfortunate because the blue team used both their barrier and their graviton. Tiny Giraffe does get Captain Caillou on the way out. Get some Australian takeaway. But I do like the adaptation here. We do have one of the tanks, the D.Va in this case, switching off to the Tracer, which is going to be a good swap for Shanghai. We're going to see what kind of flank they can pull off. TX Pro does find the Reaper, but it's not a fight that Tracer wants to take, especially up close. But she does get away. But Hanjo takes out Chibi Kitsune, and Ash, the support Mayhem, take out two of their own. And while the blue team is going to pick up a couple of kills at the hands of TX Pro skills, it does not look like it's going to be enough. Unfortunately, Tracer and Lucio and Roadhog are not enough to take an entire point. Although a couple of dry runs, in this case, would be very good for the blue team, as they need to pick up ults. Because look at the red team. Look at how many ults they have. They have almost 6 ults. That Junkrat against 3 tanks is going to get his ult very soon. In fact, he's just lobbing grenades in now. He's only 4% away. Reaper does use his ult, but does not get anything off of it. But Hypnodog does go down, and without a speed boost, this push may be doomed to fail. Blue team does recognize that and gets away, but Tiny Giraffe used his ult. Dr. Willix Pro also gets Captain Kaio on the way out. It looks like Captain Kaio is a little bit too ambitious with his late pickoffs. This may be the blue team's time to shine, as they have Coalescence and Graviton. The problem if they try to use that combo, though, is that Hanjo's been sitting on a Transcendence for a while. Hanjo hasn't had to use it, so he's been saving it for the Graviton. Here comes an attack from the left side. Graviton does go up, but just as predicted, Hanjo's going to cover it. Coalesce is also going to heal. I think that was a very unnecessary extra use of healing ultimates. I think in that case you should have just used the Zen and held onto the Moira ult, because when the red team did have, 6 ults, they only have 1 left. Almost 2, but still, I think there was overusage of ults. We're going to see some switches on the Narwhal side, as we're going to go to a much more classic dive. We're going to have a Genji Pharah, no mercy for the Pharah though, Winston D.Va. This is a good position for TX Pro's skills to be in, though, as given the enemy DPS, which was a Junkrat and a Reaper, it would have been very good, but the Phantom saw exactly what happened and switched to a Soldier, just so that TX Pros cannot get easy free damage. TX Pro's already at full health and is down. The Phantom was more than ready to take on that challenge. Dr. Willix Pro is going to try and retreat to his team as they decide how they're going to try and push this. Dragon Blade is coming up soon, but that is the only ult that they're going to have. Against a D.Va Bomb, and a Reaper ult, and a Coalescence, and a Transcendence, they've got to play this smart. They got to run some dry runs, not using any ult, so that they can get all 6 ults. Or at least enough to cleanly push. Tixpro's going to try and sneak around, but Hanjo knows exactly what's happening, and is going to use Transcendence to stop this blade from taking any damage. Captain Kaio uses his ult, doesn't get anything off of it again, and ends up dying to Moira, but Hanjo is going to do the damage necessary to pick off these final kills. Both tanks are back on the point. Blue team is still getting kills, but it's too late. So many people died that even if you get like kills on the DPS, it's not going to be enough to take the point. Blue team is going to come back at it again. DX Pro actually, or Dr. Willix Pro rather, gets some good picks with his Dragon Blade barriers to keep everyone healthy. Visor is going to come in and whittle those shields down. Dr. Willis Pro actually takes Soldier down, and kills are still coming in favor of the blue team. That is going to come down and get hit, or I Am Jesus out of mech. But a mech below for a mech below, as I Am Jesus is back in mech. The DPS on the Narwhal side is still getting picks, but they haven't made any progress. The picks are just coming in too slow. They're too spread out. The Wraiths are able to trickle for this entire time. And if they get it into overtime, that's incredibly bad news for the Narwhals. TX Pro Skills does finally go down. But a blade does come out into a Hanjo Transcendence. Dr. Willix Pro is not able to get anything as a new Visor comes out. And we still have Moira ult, as well as Reaper ult, or Winston ult. Ash's ult does get eaten by a Pulse Bomb, though. And kills are still coming in for blue team. Now, if they can finish these off all at once, they can maybe try and take the point, but it's in overtime. Picks are still coming in, and this might finally be time for the blue team to take the point. But they have to stop any trickling. Oh, Hypnodug, it might be too early for that. As we've got some reinforcements coming in from the red side. But Robotic Panda jumps a little bit too late, and they do cap it in the end. Because the Narwhals went into overtime on their attack, the other team, the Washington Wraiths, is going to have almost 2 minutes to take a third of point A on Anubis. Which, all things considered, is not a lot of effort. Shanghai Narwhals are going to have to try a lot. Going to have some really solid strats where no one ends up getting picked for 2 minutes to hold this. Looks like we are going to get a triple tank, triple support, possibly, from the Washington Wraiths. As looks like they're just going to try and outlast the Narwhals. Oh, we're actually going to get quad tank. This time, I like this. They're running quad tank, but with 2 dive tanks. Typically, that doesn't work, as Winston isn't super great in the triple quad tank compositions. But that's exactly what they need if there's going to be someone on the high ground, like when they defended. But instead of that high ground, they are actually going to hold here. Ideally, they can put down enough pressure, especially from the Junkrat, that they will not be able to take the point, but they do have to contest. As Dr. Wilkes Pro does jump down, Diva will be out of mech. He's going to try and get the frag off on Moira. Moira barely gets away. Oh, but Dr. Wilkes Pro does get the pick. Does get picked himself, but those are the kind of trades that are acceptable. Phantom does get trapped in Dr. Wilkes' post-death trap. And only losing Junkrat, that is exactly the way they're going to have to play. The Washington Wraiths are grouping up again. They only have a minute. They're actually going to swap off of the Winston to the Zarya, noticing that Dr. Willix Pro is doing a lot of damage with his grenades. And Attire is going to come through, get whatever it can. Fire Strike is down, so Reinhardt is no longer a threat to it. But it gets a Wraithed Moira and does not do any damage. Visor's coming out, gets 2 kills, a tank and a support. He does go down himself, but that might be enough to hold this point. There's some traded hooks. And some traded whole hogs, but it's still not enough. And with only 15 seconds, it does look like this is going to close to be a tie. Alright, with 5 seconds left, they're going to try and coalesce. Or not, the Coalesce was too late, and a hook killed Captain Caillou. Earth Shatter comes out on both sides. This is quite the messy fight, but losing that Zarya might be curtains. The bomb does go out. TX Pro Skills can't get away, but Dr. Willix does get a Tracer with his tire. And a Moira with his mine. Dr. Willix Pro is really... His Junkrat has just been unstoppable on this point, and that is going to be enough to bring this to a tie. Great positioning, great play, just all around really good showing of defense on that point. The play of the game is going to go to Dr. Willix Pro on the Genji. Perhaps not a stellar quintuple blade kill, but you do what you can. Alright, we are going to be at essentially 0-0. I'm going to say it's 1-1 because we're all winners here. But we should talk about what went wrong for both teams. Now, on the Washington Wraith side, they took the point. They took the first point pretty quickly, and they took the second point with 2 minutes left, which was solid. They definitely had time to work with, and if they had played correctly, could have taken that second point. I don't think they adapted their comp well enough. I think quad tank is good, and triple tank is good, but not necessarily on Anubis. I think that's definitely, with a verticality, something you want to run with dive. And given the DPS of the Narwhals, you probably want Afara, because the tanks and Junkrat definitely cannot do as much against that particular character. Otherwise, the Wraiths did seem to have some misplays where they would use too many ultimates at once, particularly the healing ultimates. For example, when the Graviton went on to Hanjo and his team, Hanjo was able to keep everyone alive with the Transcendence, but Moira also ulted with Coalescence, which was not necessary at all. Coalescence is much better for healing than it is for damage, so if it was used for that purpose, it was not used correctly. And if it was to heal people in the Graviton, then Hanjo had that covered. There was a few ults that the Reaper, Captain Caillou had that seemed very good positioning, but it didn't do enough damage, did not get enough frags. But overall, it was solid. On the Narwhals, the biggest issue was that they were attacking without stacking ultimates. What they needed to do to take the second point and have enough time afterwards was to get ultimates on their side. They only ever ran in with 2, 3... I don't think they ever even had 4 ultimates. They just ran in, used whatever ultimates they had, and ended up with just 0. They needed to take Anubis, you need to take a clean just wipe. Everyone on the defending team needs to be down, and then you need to kill any stragglers that try to contest. And to do that, you have to be able to stack your ultimates. And a Genji Blade and a Coalescence is not enough. There also seem to be some issues with leaving the point once enough of the teammates had gone down. But otherwise, both teams were very solid. Very evenly matched, especially given the draw that we had. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on the next map, which is going to be Nepal, where no ties are allowed. So we'll see how each team performs in a situation where one team has to win. I imagine we'll see a lot of 99 to 99, as it was never super one-sided. But we're going to see how it goes. Looks like we're going to switch around some players, get some substitutes in, or extended roster players. And that was interesting to see triple and quad tank on Anubis. As I said before, it's not something super great on the first phase of Anubis. Just, I mean, it depends. I think the way that they were running it was the best way that it can be run, and it's just four tanks on the point. The enemy team, the defending team, has to come to them if they want to contest, which is how it should be run, but probably wasn't the optimal choice. But on Nepal, it's definitely a lot more viable on certain parts of the map. On the map with the pit, I think you should probably be running an Orisa Hog, but we'll see what each team decides to run. But on the village and the shrine, triple and Quantech is definitely something you can run. And it does seem like these players do appreciate that kind of composition. I would like to see more classic, like bread and butter dive from these teams, though. They've got like halfway comps that they'll play, but then have a non-comp character. Like they were running dive with an Ana, which can work, but is definitely much more difficult. So I'd like to see, not just dive. I would like to see more cookie cutter comps from these teams, like a Deathball, Ryan Zarya, Lucio Moira, dive with Lucio and Zenyatta. But that may not be certain players' strong suits, but when you play that role, that is what you should be prepared to do if you're going to play competitively. So you need to adapt to whatever is the strongest meta. We are going to be jumping into Nepal. We are going to be on the shrine. It does look like we're going to see a Pharah Mercy and an Orisa Hog on this map. And we unfortunately do have a DC, so it does look like Spicy Nemo has disconnected, and we're going to try and get a new player. In the meantime, let's take a look at the compositions. So far, at least, we have on the Narwhal side Tracer and Unknown DPS, Winston, Diva, Lucio, Moira. Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Well, depending on their sixth player, the other DPS, this is the cookie cutter dive that I would like to see. Because it becomes less about the like peculiarities of certain characters that are perhaps off meta or just not as good at the time, and more of just this is the best character at the time. Let's focus on playing as a team, getting the game sense down, getting our ult economy, and just mechanically figuring out how to play the game better. On the other team, we're going to see a Roadhog Orisa, a Zenyatta Mercy, and a Pharah Tracer. Now this is also a very good comp. I'm not sure how it's going to work on this map in particular, as there's not any pits easily accessible. We're going to start the game though. But Orisa Hog still continues to be a very good combo if you can get the halt hook to work. It is a difficult combo, even in high-level games, so we'll see if they can get it. The Pharah Mercy is going to come in handy, as Pharah Mercy can fly over this side and shoot onto the point, and shoot it from all angles. It does look like we're going to have a Lucio instead of a Zenyatta, which I think is a better choice, given that Lucio can heal more people at the same time and can get them to the point faster. I think Zenyatta is always a great choice, but for this composition, I think it's more important to get the immobile tanks, Orisa and Hog, there faster. The other TPS... Well, this is unfortunate. We will see what is going on. But as I was saying, the other DPS on the Narwhal side is Junkrat, which is not necessarily dive. He does have a lot of mobility with his double mines, but Junkrat does have a lot of pick potential. It does look like we're going in as a 5v6, which I hope isn't correct. But I suppose we will see how the game goes. We're gonna Farah just rain down free damage. J-Plays is already very close to death. Oh, Captain Caillou, very rude. Steals the health pack as J-Plays tries to get it. J-Plays decides to take his own life. And it does look like the blue team is going to definitely have a hard time even surviving on this point as a 5v6. TX Pro is going to stall as long as he can, but the point does get taken, and he needs to retreat. Does get taken down, though. And the game is going to be paused again as the 6th player from the Narwhals does return. So, what I would talk at this moment is how a normal 6v6 team fight would have gone, but a 5v6 in this kind of play is terrible for any team. Like, consider the Overwatch League. If any of those teams are 5v6, they would be at the bottom consistently. This, in a 6v6 game, that 6th member is incredibly important no matter what character or role they are playing. Dr. Willix Pro has just loaded back into the game and will hopefully be able to choose his character soon. And hopefully the Narwhals will be able to get back into this game after this very unfortunate start to the Nepal Shrine. Does look like Dr. Willix Pro is still loading in. And we're going to restart the game, which I agree with. I think that's definitely the best decision when a game starts 5v6. And we're actually going to go to a different map. We're going to go to the Sanctum. Now this is definitely something Robotic Panda and I Am Jesus are going to appreciate. They were going to play Orisa Hog regardless, but this is a great map for Orisa and Hog, whether they use a halt-hook combination together or just separately to try and hook people into the pit. It's a lot of fun booping to be had, especially with Ashe and Farah with their own boop potential. On the Narwhal side, we are going to have a very similar comp, except we're going to have TX Pro on the Junkrat instead of the Tracer. Junkrat is also very strong on this map. There's a lot of good trap places. And then Spicy Nemo is going to switch from the Junkrat to the Genji. Genji, a staple of the current meta, is going to be very solid regardless. We're going to run Dive with Lucio Moira, which I definitely agree with. And we are going to start things off on the Sanctum. Both teams are going to try and fight on the left side. The Phantom has gone in, and perhaps the Wraith was expecting a Pharah on both sides, as they do have Captain Caillou. Ooh, does DX Pro does his best to try and survive, but does get booped in by the end. But as I was saying, with the Phantom, there is no counter to Pharah. That being said, Hypnodog does get a double boop, and does look like Blue Team might be able to cap this. It's going very back and forth, though, as D.Va is left. Lucy's going to try and get more boops. But this damage-boosted Pharah still is uncontested. TX Pro has gone Soldier to try and fix this. Does try to take Captain Caillou down first. But Captain Caillou actually has Deadeye and uses it already. Well, the 6v6, the team fight definitely went better, and they definitely had a chance to take the point, but it still goes into the Wraiths. Oh, a Pharah ult does come down, but the missiles against D.Va's mech do kill her instead. And this is a great time for the Shanghai Narwhals to take the point. Spicy Nemo does get taken down, but the picks are definitely in favor of the Narwhals at the moment. The flashbang does miss, but it doesn't matter, as it's just Roadhog to contest. Lucio and Pharah have arrived, but it may be too little too late, as the Narwhals do successfully take this point. The Phantom was picked off late. She must have used her ult, come back and died again, as she is the last one to respawn. But going into this next fight, the ult economy is certainly in the favor of the Narwhals, as it's got 4, almost 5 ults. TX Pro is about to have his Deadeye as well. Ooh, a very dangerous Mercy fly, but she does survive. Captain Caillou and TX Pro skills are going to have a little 1v1 of their own. Ooh, but TX Pro is going to take out the Mercy, who had Valkyrie. Any ults that the red team uses now are very much not a good idea. It does look like Captain Caillou actually used his Deadeye. Roadhog used his whole hog. None of those did Ashe use Barrier? None of those were a good idea once you lose your Mercy. Once you lose the Valkyrie, and a lot of your healing potential, most of it, since the only other healer was a Lucio, that's when you need to fall back, regroup, and wait to use your ults. TX Pro still has his Deadeye, and he's going to look for a moment to use it. Interesting, though, that he's decided to fight on the point. Does get a nice kill on Ashe, as it's, instead of the high ground. 9 health, he barely makes it out of that team fight. But he is just laying damage into the Wraiths. And healed back up. That is all that the Wraiths, or the Narwhals, are going to need to hold on to this point longer. With 87%, the red team is going to have one more chance to take this point. The Valkyrie's going to come in and try and give them an opening to push. But not all of red team is here. This Valkyrie may have been too early, as there are still members from the red team showing up. Soldier's still on the way. Arisa does put down the bongo, but does get taken out immediately as kills are coming in from the blue team. Captain Caillou almost taken out by Hypnodog. J-Plays perhaps misses a jump, but it doesn't matter, as that is all they need to take the first point. While they did lose the initial engage and the initial cap, they were able to take it back and refuse to lose the point. Now, this is a map in particular that triple tank and quad tank is more viable on, as you can come up to this side and just with a Ryan barrier, Zarya barrier, Moira healing everyone, just power your way through. But it does look like both teams are going to opt for a dive. Although, a dive very loosely, as a Reaper and Soldier are going to come out from the Wraith team. It does look like I Am Jesus didn't quite get the memo that they were going on the high ground, but it's okay, D.Va's got jets. The fight is going to ensue. And the fight is incredibly scattered right now. Dr. Wilkes Pro does get the first pick on a tank at that, which is huge for the Narwhals. Dr. Wilkes Pro does go down to the Phantom, and now it comes down to who takes the point first. J-Place does go down, and it actually looks like the red team is in a good position to take this. Given the early picks, I would not have expected the red team to take the point, but it does look like they were in prime position to get to the point first. Although the fight is still happening, and it looks like the blue team has entirely respawned. Dr. Wilkesboro gets revenge on the Phantom, but gets taken out himself. Coalescence does come out, and red team is able to finally cap. Express skills with 2 health. Does not quite get away, as the red team picks up the last kills. A lot of ults are coming up on both teams. We've got almost 6 on side of the Narwhals, and almost 4. Ooh, but an early pickup on Dr. Wilkesboro is going to be huge. They're going to have to wait for him to respawn, and that's going to buy at least 10% more on the Wraith side. Interesting jump, as that did give away their position. You know that Winston is a very loud monkey. Looks like a pulse bomb might be coming in soon. A visor is going to go down with barriers to keep everyone alive. Never mind, no barriers. It's a Winston ult. Dr. Wilkes Pro is going to get bumped into a corner, but Not after getting value out of his ultimate. J-Plays is going to fight on the point. And now with barriers and a Genji ult, this should be what they need to take the point. But with a visor on the side of Captain Caillou, they're actually going to clean up. What should have been a fight in the favor of the Narwhals actually goes to the Washington Wraiths. This is very good ultimate usage, very good spacing from the Wraiths. As the Narwhals will only have one more chance to take this point with only 2 ults of their own, a Pulse Bomb and a Coalescence. The game will pause though. And unpause. And pause again. As it would seem the second DPS on the Narwhal side is going to disconnect again. So in the meantime, let's talk about what the Narwhals team can do to try and get back into this with only 2 ultimates. If TX Pro gets a very good pick, maybe on the Moira or one of the tanks or any of the DPS, that could definitely swing favor, and Coalescence could pick up the healing on the tanks that they need and any extra damage to finish anyone off, as the Wraith team has no ultimates to speak of. Coalescence is coming up in 3%, but that is the only thing they have relatively close to being available. So if the ultimates on the Narwhal side are used correctly, especially TX Pros, they do have a chance to get into this. That being said, it's going to put them at an enormous disadvantage of playing this 5v6 already, as no one got picked, but someone got disconnected, which is even worse, as they're going to spawn in with no ultimate. They're going to be at 0%. So they're going to get late, and they're just going to have to use their skills and aim. No ultimate. Hopefully we can get this game coming soon, as we can look at the ultimate charge and how there's only 4% until the Wraiths takes this point. It does look like TX Pro is not going to C9, as he is going to stay on the point as long as he can, but I'm not sure he knows about the Junkrat. We can see an outline of a sneaky Junkrat right up top. He does not have ults, but Tracer, with only 150 health, gets eaten up by Junkrats. It depends on how long TX Pro can stay on the point, but also try and use his ultimate. It's going to be very tricky for TX Pro skills to try and balance out those priorities. As this point may be coming to a close, while it still could go to the Narwhals, there's always the, I would say, high chance that the Wraiths will take this. Tiny Giraffe is loading in, by the way, for the Narwhal side. But assuming that this point does go to the Wraiths, which I'm not saying it will, it's just saying that it might, we are going to go back to the Shrine. But in any case, we are going to go back into the game. DX Pro, actually aided by Diva and Lucio, are going to sit on the point, and they already have 3/4 of it. And get a stick on Robotic Panda. This is exactly what TX Pro needed to do. Coalesce does come up, try and keep everyone held. Dr. Wilkes Pro does fall out of mech, though, as the Phantom gets J-Plays. And the kills are unfortunately coming in for the red team. TX Pro did exactly what he needed, but it was not enough, as the kills just came in for the Wraiths. In round 2. will move over. Now this was still close. If this had been a 6v6 fight, I think it definitely could have gone in favor of the Narwhals. But regardless, we are going to go to this third point. And here we're actually going to see the Far Mercy again. And with this aerial damage, the Phantom's going to see whatever he can get, especially against a Junkrat and triple tank. This is a good triple tank map, but if you don't have anything to counter the Pharah, it can be a huge issue. Chibi Kitsune is doing the best he can to try and keep all the tanks healed up. Well, it actually looks like he's focusing on damage more than healing, but it doesn't matter as the kills are coming in for the beefy tank team. And if they can get any pickoffs on that Mercy, they do. And the Pharah is actually caught out of position. Does escape. But into the Zarya. At 4 health, she does make it. She actually survives. Great movement and unfortunate lack of targeting. It's unclear as to why Dr. Willix Pro did not finish off the Phantom, but Tiny Giraffe does, and that's going to put a huge dent in Washington Wraith's plans. As without their main damage dealer, it's going to be a lot harder to get any frags. They should be pulling out. They should be returning right now, but they actually opt to Valk. They decided that even though they've lost Pharah, they're going to try and take this fight, and Captain Caillou does get frag onto TX Pro skills, but does get taken out by Hypnodog. It's back and forth right now. The Phantom does use ult, but doesn't get anything out of it. Earth Shatter goes down. It doesn't do anything either. Oh, and a Graviton whole hog is just gonna rip that team apart. Tiny Giraffe does go down to a mech, but it doesn't matter as the blue team is gonna be able to pick up these last kills. And that will be it for that push. The Wraiths needed to back out sooner. When they lost that Pharah, they should not have kept fighting. They definitely should not have used Valk. They needed to fight as 6. That is the only way, or essentially the only way to clear a point like this, especially against 3 tanks. Plays against Captain Caillou early. Unclear why Captain Caillou was in that position to begin with. And that is incredibly bad for the Wraiths, as they're going to go into this last fight. They can't afford to group up again, and they're going to be running in 5v6. TX Pro gets the Phantom. That damage is down. It looks like the last point is going to go in favor of the Narwhals. TX Pro is going to finish off all the damage. Use the tire just for fun, for fireworks. And Tiny Giraffe will celebrate. The Phantom does come in with the basketball play of the game. Does knock Chibi Kitsune off. And then Junkrat. That's when TX Pro tried and was so close, but was unable to make it out of the pit. On King of the Hill, these stats are particularly important, and the fact that the Narwhals had more healing and more limbs just comes in huge. Even though Captain Caillou did more damage than anyone else, first that may be due to the fact that the Narwhal ended up losing players a fair amount. They think they went through 2 or 3, or at least reset their ultimate and damage, all their stats. But even then, damage doesn't mean anything if it does not convert into kills. And the fact that he got the most damage but not the most kills means that the damage was not being used properly. The biggest thing that the Washington Wraiths did not do correctly in that last point. Actually, throughout the map, but particularly the last point, is the same thing that the Shanghai Narwhals had a problem with, and that is stacking ultimates. Just to get all of your ultimates together and then push. But more importantly than that, it's knowing when to back out, knowing when to disengage. And a lot of that is if your main DPS, or your main tank, or your main healer gets picked, you need to go. You cannot stay, and you especially cannot use ultimates, as a Valkyrie is great when it's healing 5 people, but if it's healing only 4 people and your main DPS is not there, the chance that you win a fight against 6 players just is not very high. When you lose a player early, you need to go ahead and reset. Once the Wraith players figure out how to communicate when to disengage, they'll have a much better chance of winning these games more consistently. As again, they were very close. But it is going to be another point for the Narwhals. Looks like we are going to go to Hollywood next. And this is another point where you can run dive or triple tank or death ball. This is really kind of any comp you want. The verticality in the first phase is not very important if you can just push onto the point. It does look like we are going to take a short break, though, as Dr. Willick's Pro and the rest of his team are going to need a minute or two. We do see the icon meta coming back into play, as all of Shanghai Narwhals has changed to the Shanghai Dragon icon. Now, this is a very interesting meta shift, as when we started the Washington Wraith, all had the same Reaper icon, and the icons on the Shanghai Narwhal side were scattered. They were a bunch of different icons. They ended up actually copying the Reaper icon instead. But tables have turned, as the Shanghai Dragons have adopted their, or the Shanghai Narwhals have adopted their pro team's icon, and the Reaper icons, while most of them are Reaper, and I suppose the pumpkin is Reaper's head from the Halloween skin, they're not uniform. Now, whether this is good or bad, that is up to you to judge. It's just a very interesting shift. It is perhaps possible that they were trying to upgrade to the Gold Reaper icon, but it may be also possible that due to the exclusivity and the fact that you cannot buy icons with tokens, Dumix, I Am Jesus, and Hanjo do not have the Anniversary Reaper. Oh, we've got Hanjo going on to the Hanzo. That's going to be a huge change for the Washington Wraiths. But he's going to go back to Chibi Reaper, and we're actually going to go do a 2-2-2 composition, which I think is definitely the way you should go. The 2 Classic Reaper, Chibi Reaper, and Golden Reaper, that is definitely a varied comp and a solid direction to move in. Because in this case you have 2 Reaper tanks, 2 Reaper DPS, and 2 Reaper healers. We should be getting this game fairly shortly, though. And let's see what we think we expect from the Narwhals. I have seen a lot of half dive and triple tank. I think they might try running triple tank on attack on Hollywood. I'm not sure I suggest it on defense. It is solid, but I think you would rather go with a dive and a Junkrat, especially with that choke point. Or actually, a Rein Zarya would also be very good, as Zarya has a good chance of getting a lot of high charge, just blocking in that choke point. As far as defense, or as far as attacking, definitely triple tank is good. Dive, death ball. The options are endless. But we are going to go into this game. Gonna go to Hollywood. Here we go into the studios. Goldshire Pictures. Where films like Hero of My Storm and 8-Gun Cowboy, I don't know. I know he has 8 arms, though. Perhaps that's the buff that Zenyatta needs. Perhaps when Zenyatta transcends, he should just get out 8 guns. But in any case, we are gonna have, as perhaps expected, but not on the defense, a triple tank composition. It is still very solid, and I actually really appreciate the tanks that they are running this with. While the D.Va is very good in most situations, the Reinhardt Zarya is great for getting Zarya charged up, and their ults combine pretty well. But the Roadhog is especially good, as he can get hooks from behind Reinhardt's shield and try and stop any pushes. That pick potential is huge. They're going to run Moira and Ana, so the healing is going to be a little bit crazy, as Ana used to be able to do triple tank herself after the healing nerfs. Not so much, but she still has a lot of burst healing, and Moira is going to be able to do a lot as well. We're going to see a triple tank from the attacking team as well. We're going to have a very similar comp, except we're going to have Lucio instead of Ana, which I agree with. It's definitely more important for the attacking team to have speed. Hanjo's going to check his flanks, does not find anyone, but he does get a hook, and what is essentially a pick on TX Pro skills at the hands of Captain Caillou. They have traded, but I think this fight has been so messy that it is going to go in favor of the blue team, as their tanks are up and healthy. They lost their Junkrat, but they still have 3 tanks. With all the people anti-healed from Hypno Dog's bottle, they are half health. They actually do heal back up, and J-Plays misses his charge. And while the red team is anti-healed again, that may be what they need to find an opening, as they do find Ana. Coalesce is going to come out from Chibi Kitsune as well, but she's losing tanks fast. Barriers come out from the red team, as picks still are coming in favor of the Wraiths. J-Plays is going to try and contest this. I don't think it's a good idea to use his shatter in this case. Actually, well, it depends on how many players are here for the blue team. At this point, it is 3, and they actually do get a great Graviton. Earth Shatter does get blocked. Actually, no, it doesn't. It kills Moira somehow. Does look like the shield blocked a lot of it, but it doesn't matter, as that was a great Graviton, and J-Place is able to pick those off. And what was looking like a pretty bad fight for the Shanghai Narwhals does go in their favor in the end without losing a single tick. I Am Jesus is looking to get a Earth Shatter of his own, as well as a Coalescence and a Bomb and a Grav and a Roll Hog. The ult economy is definitely in their favor, and a good charge will come in. J-Plays can't keep blocking a Reinhardt. That's not going to work, as this is going to be the decisive fight for the Wraith. TX Pro skills ends up missing himself, and this is going to go to the red team. The best part for the Wraiths is they only used, I think, 2 of their ults? They still have Earth Shatter and Graviton, which is huge. The Narwhals only have Nano, and Hanjo actually gets a pick on Dr. Willix Pro before he can do anything. I'm just going to go for an aerial shard on the Ana. Does some damage, but does not get the pick. Does keep trying to get these picks. They're not coming through, but uncontested, that's A-okay. Dr. Willix Pro has gone on what it was his own, tired of dying to Hanjo, but it doesn't matter. Oh, it looks like the person to take out Hanjo is going to be Hypno Dog, as a flanking Ana is going to go into the back line and take her out. TX Pro Skills is going to use his visor to get the rest, and amazingly, Hypnodog is still alive. Not only did Hypnodog take out a sniper, someone that they had been struggling with the whole time, but he makes it out, and even helps killing the Ana. Hanjo does get Willix Pro again, unfortunately, but the push was stopped. With 4 ults and 2 more on the way, and an out of position Hypnodog, this is very tilted towards the Wraith. That being said, there are a lot of good ultimates on the Narwhal side as well. Especially if they nano Ryan. And it looks like that is exactly what they're going to do. Does use Shatter, does get both tanks on a Sleeps and Earth Shattered character just because it does get taken out by D.Va, but it doesn't matter as J-Plays does exactly what he needs to with that nano. They've held on to this point for a very long time, but look at the red team. They have almost 6 ultimates. This is exactly what they needed to do. They have adapted incredibly well. Look at their ultimate stacking. They have 4 ultimates, and they all work together incredibly well. Looks like Robotic Panda's pushing in to try and get a grav. It does lay it down. Earth Shatter comes in as well. And that is just going to clean up the blue team. Tiny Draft tries to get away, as does Hypnodog, but the pick does come in. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Waiting to use all those ults all together. Perhaps the Earth Shatter wasn't completely necessary, but it was good to just confirm those kills. And they were able to just wipe the blue team. Looks like Hypno Skills is trying to get some damage, but he is unable to contest. Hypnodog actually takes out Robotic Panda. His Hypno Skills is actually going to get a very good position on the high ground, jump off and use his visor. Interesting given it was during a Transcendence, but it is going to be at the end where he can actually get damage. Chibi Kitsune does take I Am Jesus, and it does look like blue team is going to hold for a little bit longer. Dr. Willix Pro off of the Widow onto the Genji, but it looks like Hanjo has swapped as well. Dr. Willix Pro does get a flashbang onto the D.Va, not something you see every day. It's a very interesting dynamic between Dr. Willix Pro and Hanjo, as Dr. Willix Pro chooses a character, gets countered, counters Hanjo's character, Hanjo counters him again. Ooh, but if he can get this pick on D.Va, and he does, that's huge with only 3 seconds left. They're going to be at a huge advantage to try and finish this point against the Narwhals. That Earth Shatter does come out, and Captain Caillou gets 1, 2, 3 picks on his own. 4? This was so heavily favored for the Narwhals, but Captain Caillou on a rampage is able to essentially single-handedly cap the second point. There's going to be an early spawn coming in for TX Pros as he does get chased down. But the red team does find him. But he actually made it out. Targeting may not have been great on the red team, as the Wraiths are not able to finish him off. With only 60 seconds left, though, there's not a lot of time to finish this off. TX Pro Skills has a great position, does take out Captain Caillou. Not going to let Captain Caillou carry this team anymore. And with so many ults coming in favor of the Shanghai Narwhals, this could be the final stop of the payload. Ooh! J-Plays does get a nice shatter. TX Pro Skills picks up on it, gets 2 kills. J-Plays is going to look for any picks in the back. But he's forgetting about the point. The people are on the point. Both Tanks and Zenyatta while he was looking for someone else. And they're actually going to keep pushing this forward. With Earth Shatter coming up, Graviton coming up, and Deadeye, they might actually be able to successfully finish this point as both healers are knocked down. That's huge. Both healers are dead. Graviton does pick up on the Genji and the D.Va. And what should have been Narwhal's fight to win is still possible, but is definitely in the favor of the Wraiths. They just need to stop these stragglers from coming in. Hypnodog, Tracer, Moira, they're all going to try and contest as long as they can so that the tanks can get on the point. But despite this stall, it may not be enough. Tiny Giraffe is going to ult on the point, try and push people away. But the picks are still coming in for the red team as the Narwhals just cannot get any footing. And look at this. Another Earth Shatter is up on the side of I Am Jesus. The stragglers have just been running into his hammer, it seems, as he can make a final stop to any other players coming in as soon as this Mei is out of her ice wall. Oh no, he gets frozen at the most opportune time. But J-Plays does get taken down in the end. Earthshard doesn't come through, but it looks like they're so close to finishing this out. A Diva Ball might be all it takes. Oh, but Hypnodog actually hides under the payload to survive it. He finally does get taken down. Genji is still contesting. This is one of the longest fights I've ever seen. And it is eventually, in one of the longest overtimes, going to be completed. With overtime, this does give the Narwhals a good chance, as if they complete the point with over a minute, they will be able to be the only team to try and attack the first point the second round. So it is all up to how fast the Narwhals are able to take the entire map. If they both go into overtime, or if they get under a minute, both teams will have a minute to try and take this point. But if the Narwhals can do it any faster, they will secure a tie at the very least. And they're going to go with a quad tank composition. Interesting that they are running a Winston. He typically does not fit in, as he does not do quite enough damage and takes a lot more damage. We're actually going to switch and see TX Pros on the Diva. This is the optimal quad tank comp. On the side of the Wraiths, we've got a anti-dive team. A very good position. This is a great place for Orisa, Hog, and Junkrat to be, as they can try and just make the point incapable of being stood on. If they're able to zone out the Narwhals, that's all they need to do. Especially with a damage boosted Junkrat, that is not something you want to mess around with. And with Diva being the only character on the Shanghai team that can get up to that high ground, they're going to have to survive on the point long enough to make the Wraiths contest. And they're actually going to take high ground of their own. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do from here, given that they are 4 tanks. But TX Pro Skills actually goes in, almost finds a pick on the Mercy, doesn't quite get it, is going to try and finish off the Mercy, but it doesn't come through. Dr. Willix Pro does get Robotic Panda, though. And I Am Jesus goes down to J Plays. No pin on the Ana, but it does look like they're going to pick up this point incredibly quickly. With a taunt to finish it off. Point A is taken incredibly quickly. It does look like Red Team is swapping to a more anti-dive team by picking up the Reaper, but I don't know about the Winston. Winston's very good against squishies, but he's not great against tanks, especially tanks that are getting healed up by a Moira, who heals way faster than Winston can do damage. So it'll be very interesting to see how Robotic Panda plays this, if he's got a secret plan, or if this is just a bad choice of character. Reaper, on the other hand, is very good against these tank compositions, as he's going to dive down and try and get J-Plays, pick up as much health as he can while shooting. But a Grav does come in. Earthshatter as well. But a Tire does take out J-Plays. But look at the picks on the blue team. 3 of them are down. It's just a low health tank, a Junkrat, and an Ana. The Ana, in a bit of overkill, gets taken down by a mech explosion. And Robotic Panda does contest, which is admirable, but perhaps not the best decision. He's still alive, though. Does get taken down in the end, and that's going to be a while before they can have a Winston on their team. Junkrat's going to do as much damage as possible. Try to get his ult quick. He used it a fairly short amount of time ago. Jay plays, though, getting the picks, as the picks are still just coming in for the blue team. Oh, and unfortunately missed pin. That definitely looked like it was going to hit. But it doesn't matter, as they're finishing off the people on the point. The trickle is real, but it will not be enough. It is now up to the Wraiths to try and evacuate as fast as possible. Oh, it does look like the Mercy and the D.Va are going to get whole hogged in this corner, as well as the Junkrat. The Mercy gets away, but the Junkrat is not so lucky. Free charge for Dr. Willix Pro, as these late pickoffs are great, as they're going to ensure the payload gets around this corner, at the very least. More free charge for Dr. Willix Pro, as he is sitting at a 40 charge, but at 96% ultimate. And with the Coalescence coming up, that could be a very good combo. With all these high health tanks, Hypnodog does go down. Coalesce does go with the Graviton, but is healed up by Transcendence from Captain Caillou. Reaper ults, but gets nothing off of it. And while the Wraiths are getting a lot of the picks, they're not coming in fast enough. J-Plays does go down, and I think this may be the first time this map that the Narwhals will have to back out, which is exactly what they need to do, especially with this Tire coming in. It does pick up Tiny Giraffe. His healing must have been on cooldown. But right now, Narwhal needs to back out. They don't have their Roadhog. They should not be contesting this, as Roadhog is a majority of their pick potential in this quad tank system. TX Pro is going to go up and try and fight a Reaper, which is definitely not recommended, especially up close. Barriers do come out, and a Whole Hog is going to come out from Tiny Giraffe. But with the Valkyrie happening, he just can't get the picks. He also seems unworried about his very low health, decides not to heal and gets picked off by Hanjo. And the Narwhals are going to have to back out. They need to reset. They have not reset in a long time. They've been trickling at like 4 at a time. It's about time they collect themselves and do another attack. On the side of the Washington Wraiths, we've got a lot of ultimates. Valkyrie is not up, but Transcendence is up again after that first Graviton. Hanjo might be looking for a very good drop-down ultimate. Tire does not pick anyone up, but is successful in helping Hanjo get the D.Va out of mech. This is a very good position to drop down, as Earthshatter does knock down a bunch of people, and Hanjo does clean them up. He gets hooked, but it doesn't matter, because he can heal off of the Roadhog. And that's definitely going to be enough picks. And they did that without using any of their support ultimates. And D.Va's mech ult is coming soon. On the side of the Shanghai Narwhals, with 2 minutes left, they're actually going to try and take the high ground, to try and force Reaper off of there so he can't jump on them anymore. And as far as ultimate combos go, they should be able to use Graviton and D.Va Bomb. They're actually going to drop down. They do get 3-4 people in that Graviton. Coalescence does go in, and a D.Va Bomb, and that is going to take out a lot. Mercy actually does get the res off during Valkyrie and makes it out. That healing that she gets in her Valkyrie is incredible. Hanjo does go in, does get hooked and taken down, but this is the whole hog does get eaten. J plays shatters right back, but TX Pro Skills gets taken down. And while this is a lot of good picks for the blue team, they lost enough members that I don't think they're going to be able to clear this point. Tyre coming in, actually gets Tiny Giraffe while he's healing. A lot of this is going to come up to TX Pro Skills as he tries to get these supports. It should definitely be his main focus, but he's at 6 health and needs to back away. And Doomix gets another Valkyrie. It seems that no one has even seemingly considered shooting at Doomix as he gets another res for free. It seems that he's taken no damage. Another shatter comes out, and things are not looking great for the Shanghai Narwhals. With 10 seconds left, but with Captain Caillou down, it's possible. Oh, but only 5 health. This might be the end for him. He does make it out, but into a Diva Bomb. Tiny Giraffe does find a whole hog. Does not quite get the pick, as Hanjo does get the picks with his Death Blossom. And a cleanup does look like it's going to put this point in favor of the Washington Wraiths. Play of the game is, of course, going to go to Hanzo, as he had handful of very good Death Blossoms. This one in particular off of the Shatter and into Giraffe. He's able to keep himself alive with his automatic healing and finish those picks. And look at this. 8 minutes of objective time is crazy. But with the limbs and, well, we don't know, probably the healing and damage going in favor of the Washington Wraiths. That was definitely a good showing from them. While these games were close, as they have been, this was definitely not so one-sided, but definitely a huge advantage going to the Washington Wraiths, as they were able to close out that point using their ultimates correctly at the same time. Shanghai Narwhal was not able to do the same, unfortunately. They were close, but they weren't able to just get those last few meters. A lot of the time was because players would get picked, and then they would not disengage and come back later. It does look like we're going to go to another game soon. Most likely a payload map. Possibly Route 66 or Dorado. Dorado is probably the favorite go-to payload map. So we'll see where the, I believe, Shanghai Narwhals will decide to go. We're having more player swapping and more icon switching, which is the most important metagame. As we can see, we've switched the Washington Wraith composition from a 2-2-2 to a 1-2-3, which would be aesthetically pleasing, except that the Chibi Reapers are in the middle of the 2 regular Reapers and the 1 Anniversary Reaper. If they were all above the normal Reapers, they could go 3-2-1. And it does seem that the Anniversary Reaper has been removed, banned for being a Anniversary Reaper 1 trick. Hummus, afraid of getting banned for being a 1 trick, switches back to the Shanghai Dragon icon. And we're actually going to go to Watchpoint Gibraltar. As far as payload maps go, Gibraltar is another one of the inoffensive maps, similar to Anubis. It's just very straightforward. Although this is definitely a more dive-oriented map, given the high grounds on the second, well, actually first, second, and third phases. So it'll be interesting to see how both teams adapt. Quick game, everybody. GG's to both sides. They both took the point in a nanosecond, and that's actually going to take the score to 3-3. I would say that the ult economy was very good on both sides, especially in the way that TX Pro Skills got 10 pulse bombs in a nanosecond. But it does look like we are switching out more players in all seriousness. Another classic Reaper. And Phantom Pulse has been added to the game. So as I was saying before, as far as compositions go, this is definitely something you want to run dive on. You can run standard Deathball, but Zarya and Reinhardt are not as good on this map as compared to other maps. Given the sniper perches and other positions, you definitely want a Winston and a D.Va to be able to go up and stop those DPS. Now while we're here, we might as well snoop in on Winston's workings. Camera's not allowed to go through the window. So you can see Winston seems to be a college student with ramen and energy drinks and lots of peanut butter, like any college student. Now on the defending side, we're actually going to have a dive, which is good, with a Widow and a Genji, which I definitely agree with. I think this is a great choice for defense. The Moira is very good. The Ana will be very interesting. It comes down to her positioning as to whether she is a help or a hindrance, as she is not able to jump up to these high grounds as like Widow or Genji can. She has to walk the slow way, like the rest of us. On the attacking side, it does look like we have a incredibly toxic composition. But it looks like we are going to get that more balanced. We're going to see if Hanjo from the Wraiths can get any early picks, as she is going to have to do a 1v1 against Dr. Willix Pro. Unbeknownst, the Widow is right above her. Neither of the snipers know where each other are, but they are actually incredibly close. And there they are. Here's the meeting of the minds, and Hanjo actually gets the quick pick. With Dr. Willix Pro down, that's a lot of their DPS. TX Pro Skills is going to try and do what he can from the back line, but it's not looking great. It's not a great position for him to be in. Reflects, but Hanjo doesn't even look at him. Doesn't even give him a chance to reflect. Hypnodog does go down. Hummus is still up, but they are so far out and away from the payload and away from any defendable position that this is not where you want to be defending. Dr. Willix Pro does get that shot on Hanjo, though, getting a little bit of revenge. Tiny Giraffe is actually going to do his best to dodge Hypnodog's healing, and Hummus is going to switch to a Moira, which is very interesting, because I imagine he had more healing than Ana, given how Hypnodog got picked before. They're going to need to contest this payload, though, as it has been just moving along. Tiny Giraffe is going to go straight into the fight, does get the Mercy, almost gets the Zenyatta. But TX Pro Skills and Hummus get picks of their own, and they are going to hold this. Hummus, more kills than anyone else. Lucio, the final blow king. Dr. Willix Pro is going to switch over to the Tracer. deciding not to fight the Widow 1v1 anymore. And speaking of, Hadro's got Infrasight. Opts to wait out the reflect, a smart decision, gets a body shot. But other than that, does not get a whole lot of value out of this visor, as TX Pro Skills is able to just pester Widow. We see a Tracer contesting the payload, but without a team, it's not going to move anywhere. Ooh, a Sleep Dart and a bottle on Roadhog is going to take Phantom Pulse down. Holly goes down as well, and all these picks are coming in on the side of the Narwhals. It may be a time to switch up the compositions. Oh, and a good reflect kill. But with the Roadhog, Orisa, they should use their ultimates as they come up, but if it doesn't work, they need to swap to something better. Because their hook halt combo just does not seem to be working, does not seem to be getting the picks. Perhaps a fat-fingered ultimate as Tiny Giraffe feeds more than anything else. Does get away with his life, though. J-Plays does get Holly with the ultimate, which is huge because Holly was holding on to Transcendence. Nano Boost does go on to J-Plays, as they're just going to push in through. That was, despite how heavily favored Narwhals was in that attack, the the Washington Wraiths did a great job of holding on to their ultimates, because look at what they're sitting on. They're sitting on both tank ults and both support ults. If there is any time they can push this payload to the first point, it's now. Especially seeing as there's only 2 ultimates on the side of the Narwhals. Oh, and a good pick on the flanker. This is going to be their best time to try and push in. The drum comes down. Huge damage. 50% extra from Roadhog is not something you want to trifle with. TX Pro is going to do his best to cut down these tanks, but their tanks, they have so much health. It does look like they're going to pick up these kills. The Narwhals are going to have one more chance to contest, but it is not looking favorable. It does look like the Narwhals are going to opt to instead back out, regroup, and get better positioning, which is the right decision to make in this case. J-Plays is going to actually dance. This Phantom Pain tries to, or the Phantom rather, tries to get some damage. I Am Jesus shoots onto Dr. Willix Pro. I would have preferred if I Am Jesus tried to pull Dr. Willix Pro down with his halt. That would have pulled him out of position. It would have been great for the Wraiths. But that option apparently did not come to fruition. And because of that, Dr. Willix Pro gets a pick on Holly. More damage is just raining down as Dr. Willix Pro is uncontested. He gets another pick. Is the only person who shot him at all was the Phantom. This is a great position for Dr. Willix Pro to be in. And the Washington Wraiths need to do something to get him down. I think in this case, despite how close I Am Jesus is to getting ultimate, he should go ahead and switch to a dive tank. In this phase, the hangar, you definitely need dive tanks. It is nearly impossible to get through without them due to this high ground and all the players just shooting down into it. There's going to be a counter dive, as they're going to push the red team back. Tiny Giraffe does get away. Riptire, though, is coming through. Is it going to get anyone? It does get Hypno Dog. But it is not too impactful. Hodger does ult. And gets J-Plays out of mech. And that is the only ultimate they used, as they still have 3 to use as they finish off this push. They do only have 30 seconds, though. A good late stagger on the DX Pro skills, though. But Ashe goes down with Valkyrie! That can't happen with 20 seconds left. This Nano Visor may be all the blue team needs to hold. Dr. Willis Pro gets Holly as well. That's both healers down. I Am Jesus gets ripped to shreds by this machine gun. Diva Mech is going to come down, but it's not going to find any picks as the Shanghai Narwhals are just finishing off the Washington Wraiths. The Valkyrie comes in, but oh so late, as there's only one target to heal, and Phantom runs out of mech in any case. With just the healers on the point, it's unlikely that they will have any footing to try and finish off this point, as by the time the tanks get to the point, the healers are already dead. Despite a good pick on TX Pro skills from the Phantom, it all comes down to when the red team is stopped from trickling. Now with the Primal Rage Winston to push people back, that is going to be all it takes at 69.68 meters. Nice. They had a good chance, the Washington Wraiths, of finishing off that second point, but there was misuse of ultimates, especially the Valkyrie. That should have been used to start the fight. The Valkyrie certainly should not have been lost, or the Mercy definitely should not have died with Valkyrie. But we will see how the Narwhals push this point just past 69 meters. At the moment, it does look like they're going to put Dr. Willix Pro on the Widow again. Ready to 1v1 the Hanjo. And this looks like another standard dive featuring Ana. I don't know how I feel about Hypnodog on the Ana. It did work defensively on the second phase because of the good positioning, but I'm not sure how well he'll be able to find positioning on attack. And that's all we needed to hear from DX Pro Skills. Sorry that she was late. We're going to see a Death Ball kind of comp on the defense side, which you could run on defense. Once you already have the high ground, Reinhardt Zarya is definitely something you can run, especially when you have to drop down and fight on the point. There's a lot of chance for Phantom Pulse to get charge, and I have Jesus just swing his hammer and get ult. He's going to try and fail to get up that crate, though. Dr. Willis Pro actually not going to play Widow, is going to opt for the Genji. Ooh, good pick on Phantom. And the headshot does clean it up. Dr. Willix Pro does a little bit too ambitious of a dive and does get picked, but any picks are in favor of the Narwhals, as their spawn is right next door. TX Pro Skills is going to try and finish off Ashe. Doesn't seem able to do it, but does chase him away. With 3 bodies on the cart, it is moving pretty quickly and fairly uncontested. And with anti-healing on the Lucio, Ashe is looking like a free pick. Does bounce his way to safety, though. Ooh, the great sleep dart on the Reinhardt gives the Narwhals a little bit more time to regroup and get reinforcements, as they're going to try and take this point. Barriers coming in for the blue team. It keeps Tiny Giraffe in mech long enough to get ultimate. Oh, but a Cowboy does come in. Hanjo's going to try and take out Hypnodog, and is successful, but it is not enough to take this point. It is another case of just how long can the red team stagger and contest, which is incredibly important given the timer. Not to mention, it is much better to get a late spawn, or a further back spawn, than a late spawn like this. As if any of the red team gets picked, that puts them in a dire situation, as the point is right here. Hanjo gets picked on TX Pro Skills, which is going to slow down their push. But they also have a Nano Blade ready to go. J-Place is going to retreat, and here comes the Dragon Blade. Doesn't seem like he's able to get much off of it. Does get the Moira, but that's it. But still, any picks that the blue team gets, that gets Shanghai's payload even closer. And with another bottle and Sleep Dart, Hypno Dog has actually been doing incredible. And now it's just time to bully I Am Jesus as the payload gets pushed even further. Ooh, a blink kill on another Sleep Dart. Hypno Dog has been doing crazy well. It's Coalesce, probably out of panic, comes out from Holly, is unable to protect the team as most of the teammates are dead. I Am Jesus is going to try and contest, but it's a question of how long. He almost has Earth Shatter, but he had 29 health, and that is enough for a melee kill. And with the nano on the monkey to push people away, it does look like this is going to be curtains. Ooh, with a double kill on both healers, and ones that are good at contesting at that, that's going to be the game. Here comes the play of the game from TX Pro Skills. As he gets one pick and two, and lays into the tanks, readying them up for Hummus to finish them off. As we go back into the lobby, let's talk about that match and how it went. It was not close, I'm not gonna lie. The Narwhals had a lot of time, even after they pushed it to the point that they would have had to get to the second point and possibly the third phase. The Washington Wraiths were certainly in dire straits. The biggest issue still continues to be ultimate stacking and disengaging, but I've harped on that point enough, so I will leave it at that. And we're going to see if any more games are going to be played in this scrim. And unfortunately, it does look like the Washington Wraiths are done for the day after 4 solid games. Looks like that will be it. I hope you all enjoyed that game as much as I did. Scrims were very good. Practice for both teams. And I will see you later.